Hello, and welcome to part 2 of my video series of learning how to make rocks. In the last one, we made a rock texture map that kind of looks something like this. Yours might look very different than mine. That is A-okay. In fact, I encourage that, because no two rocks are really going to look the same, and I feel like at the end of this all, it would make sense for everybody to be able to make their own rocks that they can proudly say was theirs. Anyways, let's get started. So what we did in the last one is we turned this into, I made 6 different texture maps with it. So the reason why I did that though was so that like for instance if we just have like the low stuff, right, like the low cracks or whatever. I just took just the low cracks at one point. I was thinking like in this case, it was kind of like a lot of it might be like covered with a lot of things like snow or something. And there might be a few cracks coming out. So that's why I was like maybe the low cracks, right? And then the high cracks and the low cracks. I was thinking, that would work as like an arid environment to maybe throw in some pebbles and stuff. Anyway, I'm going to minimize this and we're going to go jump into Blender. And we are now in Blender. So we're gonna just hit A to select everything and X to delete it all. We're not really making a scene, we're making game assets, so we don't need lighting and cameras. I'm gonna do a mesh and I'm gonna do a circle. And we're gonna put this at 8 vertices. Because I'm making a pretty low poly rock, we're gonna have very little amount of vertices. And then, yeah, I'm gonna put this into Z. You can press number pad 7. And I'm going to start just playing around with this and try to make an outline of something that looks, somewhat rockish. But yeah, there is no like one way to make a rock. You can make it in any way you want. Maybe you want to make like a high poly mesh and then decimate it or whatever. Sure, go for it. Me, I'm just making a very low poly rock so that just to try to show this texture off, really. I'm not trying to show off my modeling skills. I'm not exactly the best modeler around. Anyways, so I've hit E to extrude and I brought it up on the Z axis by hitting Z. I could just quickly show you. E, Z. Sorry. E, Z. Sometimes when you like hit E and then you like escape or whatever, it'll like leave extra vertices. I just wanted to make sure they weren't around. And anyways, so here we are. I'm going to go over to the overlays tab and I'm going to put on face orientation. I'm going to put on statistics. So when I put on face orientation, I'm sure you saw the whole thing turned red. And that's just because the normals are facing inwards when they should be facing outwards. So we'll change that by hitting A to select all of them. Alt-N and recalculate outside would work. We could also hit flip. And then there we go. We now have the beginnings, the bare bones of my low poly rock. So I'm going to hit S and I'm going to scale it inwards. And maybe I'm going to hit E to extrude and put it on the Z axis again and then scale it inwards. Maybe I'll hit G and Z and bring it down. And I'd say that looks pretty good. Maybe I'll scale it out a bit. I'd say that looks pretty good. And if you're having like, maybe you're trying to scale it and it's like on the active element or something. You're like, why is it not in the middle? Well, that's because you're in the active element or the cursor or something. I like to, if you put it on the median point, it does like the median between all of them. So that makes things much easier in this case. Anyways, so I'm going to hit Control F and I'm going to hit Grid Fill. Span is on 3 right now. I'm going to bring it down to 2. And you see the offsets are on the corners of the diagonals of the axes, the X and Y axes. So I'm going to bring it over to, there we go. 1 over on the offsets. Now it's right on the correct X and Y axes. I'm going to hit the Z thing there and try to bring it more towards the middle. And then hit G and Z and I'm going to extrude it up. There we go. We kind of have a point. And if we look around on it, here we go. There's a funny looking triangle. And we probably don't want that. Especially like a person's going to come up to it and go, why does it look funky? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit K to knife tool, and I'm going to just draw in the triangles. But I think there's another way of just like recalculating the triangle. You can like hit the face and tell it which triangle to go, which would be good if you're going to do like, subdivisions and loop cuts and stuff. But this is a very low poly rock. It doesn't need doesn't need that grid fill. We'll put its span to this. We'll go Z and just put it towards, oops, that's the wrong way. Put it like there, sure, good. That looks like a decent low poly rock. Nice. We'll save this. I'll go into here, and we'll just save it as like rocks 2 for me, but you could probably save it as rocks. And then, yeah, so I'm going to select it, and I'm going to hit H to hide. And I'm going to do Shift A, and I'm going to do another rock. And 8 vertices, radius is 1. Oh, I guess just to kind of show it. But yeah, this one is 48 triangles. So pretty darn low poly for a rock. Anyways, so let's get you. Let's go hit tab. And let's make this rock, I'm going to make it a little bit more of a flatter looking rock. Why not? So I'm picturing a rock kind of jutting out of the ground that's flattish. Let's put it like up here like this. So like I'm thinking like this is going to be the ground, and then this part's going to be kind of jutting out, right? Maybe I could bring it to like here or something. We could have like this part jutting out. No, actually, it'd be better just to have this part jutting out. Okay, that's looking pretty good. So then I'm gonna like Alt and click all of these. I'm gonna not have these guys selected, right? And then I'm gonna hit E to extrude, put it on the Z axis. We're gonna kind of have to do the same thing again. Alt N, flip the normals. And then I was thinking with these guys, you just select all these guys and hit F for face. Select these guys and hit F for face. And then when I hold down the Alt and I just like to click here on this edge here, you'll see it does all of them except this point here. We're gonna have to like include this one. And then maybe we can hit Control F, grid fill. Maybe you want the span to be like this, but I think I like it better when it's like this. But then I'm gonna take you, put it more towards the middle. You see it looks pretty funky, so let's bring it up. And then that same triangulation problem I was showing you before could happen here. Like what if it's trying to make its triangle from here to here? In which case then, if we were to bring it in like as an FBX or something, it would look really funky with this spot here being exposed. So it'd be best in this case for us to do the knife tool, and we can just cut in the triangles. We could probably do it for this side as well, just to make things more better. And then again, I'm going to go down here, Control F, grid fill, and that is looking decent. This one is on the correct axis or whatever. And then it might be a good idea, because this is such a funky shaped rock, I'm going to probably do the same thing as the surface one there. I'm just going to just draw these out. And like as you saw, it's, yeah. So then this is also going to be kind of funny. Anyways, so then I'm kind of thinking that these guys, we probably want to bring them down a little. And then, right, maybe this one could be up a little bit. Maybe we want this one to go jutting out a little. This one can just be, jutting out a little. Right? And then, yeah. So that's looking pretty good. And then, of course, on this face here, it has all these triangles. show poking out. So I'm going to hit right click. I'm going to hit shade auto smooth. And what that does is, if I go to modifiers, anything that's less than a 30-degree angle is going to get smoothed out. And as you can see, everything else seems to be more than a 30-degree angle, so all the edges are good. But let's say if I had it, let's say if it was higher, and you can see now it's like 66 degrees, and these are all starting to look kind of funky or whatever. Maybe you want them to look like that, go for it. But for me, if you didn't want that, but you wanted to just like have other ones, you can go into here and like mark it as sharp, and then there you go. Now it's like looking like that. And sure, why don't we make this one look like this? Because that looks cool. So now we have 2 rocks, right? There we go. Take this one, G and Y, I'm going to put it over here. Maybe this one, you want to do the same thing. You want to shade auto smooth it. There you go. You can. That looks pretty cool. Sure, we'll save that and keep it like this. So now we have 2 rocks. They look pretty neat. Now it's pretty easy to make. And then one more to show off our rock texture. We're going to do a plane. And we're going to, maybe I'll leave it at the Z or 0 and put U over here. There. Good. There. So now we have a plane and 2 rocks. Heck yeah. And I mean, like, of course, there's nothing stopping you from making tons of different rocks here. But I'm happy with just these guys. So now we have all these guys. I'm going to come into this guy here. And, well, we must just tell you, we're basically just going to go and start doing the UV editing on these guys. So we'll start off with this one that I made. So right now I'm in edge mode, number 2. So if I hold down the Alt key and I highlight it all the way around, and I'm going to just highlight these guys as well. I'm going to press U, and I'm going to mark the seam. So I'm marking the seam on this face here, and then I'm going to mark the seam on the bottom face as well. U, mark seam. There we go. So this guy is UV unwrapped. It has 3 separate islands. 1, 2, 3. Sorry. 1, 2, 3. These are all the islands that have been separated from each other. So if I hit A and then U and unwrap angle based, and then here the margin, it's probably good to increase the margin size a bunch. 0.1 is decent size. And then now we have the UVs here on this side. But I'm curious to see how much it's like stretched. So I can hit UV stretch and turn it on, and you can see it's no stretching at all. So that means we did good. What a stretching would look like is I'll just grab this, and there you go. That's what stretching would look like. It'd be like green, so we don't want to see that. Seeing it just like blue, and you could have like a little bit of green, like maybe this much. I've seen this much doing good. But once you start to see like green, that's not good. Teal is okay, but you'd ideally want it to be dark blue like this. Anyways, so yeah, I'm gonna save it. Something that I've been doing is I've been taking, like, let's take this, put it over here. Something that I've been doing is just kind of stacking everything on top of each other. Oops. Control Zing, sorry. I need to get things kind of isolated from each other. All right. So let's get you, put you like this, and then put you like this. Okay, everything's on top of each other. So I'm going to scale it up if I rotate it a bit. There. Good. So normally if you were to like UV unwrap, you would call it a day. The reason why I'm doing it this way is so that they're all like, because everything's going to be sharing the same material. So this way we're going to make it modular and make them have higher level of detail by taking out more of the texture. And the texture itself could be just a 1K texture. Anyway, so I'm going to do the UV unwrap on this guy. And I'm going to go into 2 to go into the edge mode. hitting Shift Alt and clicking on the edges on the bottom, marking the seams on the bottom. And then because of the shape of this guy, you can see like I'm gonna mark these corners here, right? And then these corners here. Right? It makes like it's like a square, kind of like a box. I'm gonna like mark these guys, and then if I hit A and U and unwrap angle based, you'll see this is what it looks like. See a little bit of green here, but it's not bad. So I'm happy with this. So then I'm gonna just put you over here. Sorry, take you down. Put you over here. Get you on top of it. Take you guys here and then scale it up. Looking good. There. So then I save that. So now we have both of these guys UV unwrapped, and if I shift click both of them, you can see they're all on top of each other, and they're all going to be sharing the same texture at the end of this all. But yeah, at this point, and then obviously the plane as well. So yeah, at this point, I hope to see you in the next video. I'm going to call it here. And in the next video, we're going to start adding the textures that we created, and we're going to make these look from, low poly rocks like this into high definition rocks. And I hope to see you there. All right. Take care.